Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. I almost literally started saying my name is Sierra DeMulder.
Man, we've been struggling with that script this week.
We really have. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is waiting for their partner to change. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners. Sierra just pulled her cord out of her headphones.
Nobody knows that unless you're watching the video, which you can see on YouTube if you subscribe to Just Break Up Podcast.
Love it.
Yes, we are not professionals. We are not trained in this. We're just here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs on the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, I'm just going to dive into today's letter. It's from Clumsy Cupid, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from St. George, Utah. Howdy, Sierra and Sam. I stumbled upon your podcast while in the midst of a self-help obsession, and it has been a lifesaver. As a lesbian, it's refreshing to find a show that's inclusive of LGBTQ folks like me and cuts through the BS, but now I need some help. So here's the sitch. I've been seeing this girl, let's call her Carrie, for over a year now. We met in December of 2020, and I had a crush on her ever since then. She got into another relationship after we met, but we remained friends throughout. Fast forward a bit, and she's living 4 hours away, single again, and we started flirting. Before I knew it, and after many 4-hour drives to see each other, she moved down to stay with me. We fell head over heels for each other, and I thought we were perfect together. The L word was exchanged within a month after, and we couldn't get enough of each other. I know. It's not the most healthy way to start a relationship, but I was like a kid in a candy store. That is a fucking perfect metaphor, because like a kid in a candy store is not a good thing. You know what I mean? It's like not like
yeah. That kid is not thinking about the stomach ache that kid is going to get after they eat all of that candy.
Yeah. I mean, like, it is good to be in a candy store as a kid. I'm just saying, like, in terms of decision-making skills, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm sure that is the point of the metaphor. But anyway, we technically, your relationship is the parent standing in the background like, God, I got to pay for all this. Like, don't
Sierra
touch that.
and I are the parent behind standing with all of you all eating the candy shop being like, what are you doing? You're going to get a tummy ache. Stop it.
That's Sam's cat
You're
baby
allergic
voice.
to peanuts. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Meanwhile, like, I'm over there gorging myself on candy too, because like we make mistakes. All right. Back to the letter. We technically broke up in August of 2022, but it was more like a Ross and Rachel kind of deal, We were on a break, but not really.
I don't know what that means.
Anyway.
How are you on a break, but not really?
Anyway, there was some drama with my friends who turned out to be major jerks, and she was going through a tough time with her mental health, and to be honest, so was I. So she was planning on moving back up north to focus on herself, but then suddenly she changed her mind and decided to stay. And not just that, she was back in my bed every night. At first, I was cool that it was like a casual thing, but then things started to get interesting. She would come home and tell me stories, and they wouldn't add up. And then she didn't want me hanging out with her friends, which was totally out of character. I mean, I had gotten really close with them, but I let it slide because, we weren't officially together. Then one day, Carrie turned on her location for me, and it showed she was somewhere completely different than where she said she was. Cue the crazy girlfriend, even though I wasn't officially her crazy girlfriend at the time, taking over. After talking the next day and some intense questioning, she finally came clean. She had slept with another girl. It was like a slap in the face, and it hurt, obviously. I mean, we weren't together, but she had spent most of that week sleeping next to me in my bed. It made me wonder where we stood,
I do know.
She seemed, we're not laughing at you, we're laughing with your universe of pain.
Absolutely.
Been there. Definitely been the person in the bed on both sides of that relationship.
Sure. Absolutely.
She seemed to realize how badly she had messed up, but I still felt like I cared about her more than she did me. So I set some clear boundaries. I told her that if she wanted to sleep with or see other people, she needed to let me know. I wasn't comfortable with that, but I didn't want to be blindsided again. We kept trying to make things work, but it was tough. Eventually, she got her own place, even though she still spent most nights together at my place. I have to admit, it was nice to have some space, but we still had a ton to work on, and I wasn't sure if we would ever be able to get back to where we were before. Things turned sour, and both of our mental healths were struggling. I had a gut feeling that she was hiding things from me again, and it was driving me crazy. I didn't want to turn into a possessive lunatic, but every time she told me something that didn't add up, I could feel my inner child throwing a temper tantrum, kicking and screaming like a toddler who just had their favorite toy taken away. I tried to bottle up my frustrations and not confront her about it, but it was eating me up inside. Eventually, she decided that it was time to call it quits for good and cut off all contact. I was devastated, but I tried to respect her decision and give her space. However, it took only a week for her to come crawling back, making excuses for her lies and telling me how much she missed me. It was like a never-ending cycle of drama and heartbreak. Now, I'm not proud of what happened next, but one day she got into a fight with her best friend, and I couldn't help but notice that her story didn't quite add up. She seemed to be really upset about it, but then when I asked her for the details, she was vague and dismissive. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, especially since her friend had apparently been venting to others in their group. It was just another example of the kind of mind games and deception that had all become too common in our relationship. So I reached out to him, hoping to get to the bottom of the situation. We used to be tight before she started excluding me from her friend group, so he spilled the tea and let me know that they were fighting over a girl she had a thing for. Apparently, she'd also been spreading some wild rumors about me and our relationship. As if it wasn't bad enough, she had been playing the field and lying to her friends about what was really going on between us to top it all off. Naturally, I confronted her about it, and it was pretty brutal as I called her out on lie after lie. I made it crystal clear, either we get back together or make it work, or we're done, and make this work, or we're done. No more sneaking around behind my back with other women, and I fully expected to be included in her social circle going forward. Let's just say it was a real come to Jesus moment for our relationship. She wanted me back in her life, so we gave it another shot. It's been a few months, and so far, so good. She's been more understanding and considerate than ever, which is nice, although I did catch her talking to the girl she slept with one time, but I'm pretty sure she hasn't spoken to her since. It's like her ex hookups are haunting us, but at least I made a new friend out of it. I might even be better friends with one of them than she was. However, okay, fucking time out. What is it, lesbians and bisexual folks and pansexual women in this community? Like, why do we all become friends with each other's exes? This is the most lesbian thing I've ever read. Just that one sentence right there. And to our letter writer, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm calling you out on. That is the plot of every single L Word episode ever. Okay, I'm done now.
Love it. Love that tangent.
Okay, almost done. However, when her best friend was in town last weekend, she suddenly got all secretive and kept me out of her plans, claiming she didn't want her friend to be the third wheel. Funny how all of our other friends were there too. It's like deja vu, back to when she was doing whatever she wanted and expecting me to be waiting for her to come back waiting for her when she came back. I'm feeling lost and unsure of what to do. It's like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, and she'll decide she doesn't want me around again, or worse, do something stupid without considering how it affects me. But when things are good, she's the only person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I'm just so confused. How long should I wait for her growth?
All right, Clumsy Cupid. Thank you for writing us this letter, for sharing all of the sordid details of this up and down relationship. These sorts of relationship where it's a lot of like give and take and things go wrong and then we have a come to Jesus moment can be so exciting in so many ways because the sort of pleasure hormones of like, oh yes, I'm getting the thing that I wanted.
And we're back together. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely can feel so good. And then those feelings of of betrayal and sadness and loss when they do something bad. It can be can also be intoxicating in their own way, and it can be really hard to sort of know, to trust our instinct or trust our intuition when we're in relationships that feel so up and down all the time. So I thank you so much for writing, and I really appreciate how challenging this moment is for you. And Sierra and I are going to offer some of our own perspective based on our lived experience, I think, maybe coming up. But first, we're going to take a little break.
All right, my sweetheart. Thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this letter. Yeah, I mean, you must hear it in the letter being read back to you that it's not that you're waiting for the shoe to drop. The shoe has dropped and she's making you carry it around, right? Like,
Love that metaphor.
Thank you. I believe that people can get back together after they have been wronged. I believe that relationships can rebuild trust. I do not believe that this is a stable, fertile enough foundation in your relationship for that regrowth to be easy, to be beneficial. What I want to know is like, is this a safe place for you? Do you feel safe? Do you trust her?
Right.
Do you want to be with her forever more than you're willing to acknowledge your discomfort in this relationship? Right? Because like I hear you saying, I want her to grow. I want to trust her. She's the only person I want to be with. If she stops hurting you, right? If she's able to prove to be a person that she has yet to prove herself to be. Right. Because remember, who she is isn't who she is on the good days. And then she like falls off the wagon and, becomes this Jekyll and Hyde type of person. She is who she is on every single day that she has been with you, been sort of with you, been on a break with you, been without you, right? That is the whole picture. And yes, people grow and change. And I don't know the intimacies of your relationship and how hard, how about this? I know how hard both of you are fighting for this relationship. I know how hard you are fighting. I know what that labor feels like. I know what those late night conversations feel like. I know what that pain, that longing just for it to be good, for all this work to mean something. I know what that feels like. And I'm just not confident from my perspective as an outsider that this is salvageable in the state it is with the patterns and behaviors and habits that you've acquired in this relationship. Does that make sense? Like I'm fucking married to my ex, right? We had
true.
I know. We had 12 years to learn and reflect and become different people. And I'm not saying you need to talk to this person. You need to like kick them out of your life for 12 years. But in my last relationship before I got with my wife, right? Both of us wanted to be with each other, right? Even though he cheated on me multiple times, even though he lied to me and I took him back and I mistreated him because he lied to me, right? Like I had weird power dynamics. Like there was so much toxicity in our relationship because I was trying to carve trust out of his deceit, right? I was literally clinging.
Put that in your book.
Thank you. I was clinging to our relationship because I needed it to work, or else all of that pain was for nothing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering if you're clinging. And I'm just wondering if she's clinging too. Because guess what? My ex was clinging. He was trying so hard to make it work. He was trying so hard to not be the person he was. And it's not that he's a bad person. It's just we were not for each other. And he could not give me in my relationship what I needed to feel safe and trusted and trusting,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we talk about on the show all the time that like it's easy to trust a trustworthy person, right? Like
literally in my notes, I wrote, it feels so good to trust. It feels so good to be
it's delightful.
in a trusting.
It's wonderful.
It feels like a summer fucking breeze. Like literally it's so light. It's so simple. And that's not, I mean, literally, I think you have the word drama in here 8,000 times. That's
yeah, absolutely.
1,000% incorrect, but.
For sure. And like, we've talked on this podcast too about like jealousy, right? And how like people will not trust trustworthy people because of their own insecurities. But that doesn't feel like what's happening here because this person, Carrie, has shown herself to be untrustworthy a number of times, right? And not just like untrustworthy once and then we can sort of like figure out how to do it, but like a pattern of being untrustworthy, even when she's telling you that she has changed, she's doing something different. And like, I love the line that you have in here where it's like, she would be saying things and they weren't adding up and my inner child would start throwing a temper tantrum. And I'm like, that's not your inner child. That is your intuition telling you that something is not right here, right? Like, this is not you like blowing things out of proportion. Like you are naming places where she's being deceitful, where she's not telling you the whole truth, where her stories aren't adding up, which is, again, a pattern of deceit that she has brought to your relationship seemingly the entire time. Right. Yes. And I understand. And like Sierra said, like people can change. Absolutely. I think that's right. But I also am like, do you want to navigate through this change? Right. Like, do you want to be in relationship with a person that you don't trust? Like it doesn't feel like a place where good things are going to grow because it's so hard to come back from this level of deceit. And the fact that there's still stuff that she's not telling you, right? This best friend is coming into town and she's like, you're not going to hang out with him. And it's like, this isn't moving towards honesty, right? This isn't saying honestly, like, here's why, or here's how, or here's what's going on. It's like, oh no, I'll be the third wheel, right? It's still this like thing. And what it does to you is it makes you feel like you're overreacting all the time.
Right.
And you're
exactly.
not. Right. It makes you feel like you're the crazy girlfriend who can't trust this person. And it's like, no, this person is being untrustworthy. And therefore, of course, it's hard to trust her.
Yes.
So what I want for you is to be in a relationship where the effort you're putting into trusting someone is actually going to be rewarded with trustworthiness.
Yes.
Right? I want you to be putting the effort into unwriting some of the stories that you might be telling yourself about relationships with somebody who is worthy of the unwriting. But in this moment, it is not this person because she continues to be untrustworthy. She continues to be lying. Like that's like, I don't like, just like flat out lying. Like that's, if I caught Peter in this many lies, I would probably still be with him, right? Because like we're all broken. But like,
oh my God, Samuel, no, you would leave him. This many lies?
But I would hope that if I was telling this many lies to Peter, he would break up with me, honestly. Like that's how I would feel about it.
This is so akin to my last relationship because it was like habitual. You know, there's a pattern to it. And I was like, no, there's no pattern, you know?
Oh, for sure.
I want to say
and the pattern of like, even just like, I don't even know if Carrie's aware that she's being this deceitful all the time. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, or if she is also
I don't even
just
villainize
in this
her.
pattern.
I don't villainize her because I know she wants
I do a little bit, but
I know she wants this relationship to work hypothetically on paper.
Yep.
She doesn't want to lose this person's love. She doesn't want to lose the security of it. Hypothetically, she wants it to work. Right?
Right.
She just doesn't know how to align her life choices.
Right. And it seems like the lesson that she learned was that I need to learn how to lie better rather than like I need to be more truthful. Right. Which I think is exactly also what happened in your last relationship.
That's funny. And on that point, to our lovely letter writer, I want to say you have agency in this relationship and you have agency in this cycle, and it's time to claim it. Whether that be, I need a break before we start this relationship over because I care so much about you that I want to really do it right this time. And I want to let go of all of my mistrust for you and come back to the table fully ready to trust you and accept you as you are right now, radically and wholly. Or that agency can look like, I don't think I can ever rebuild after this repeated, consistent, reliable mistrust that you have done in this relationship.
Absolutely. No, this is like a time for like radical honesty. This is like, I'm choosing to be with someone every single day who is dishonest with me.
Yeah.
Right. And who continues to be dishonest with me, continues to make me feel as if I am the crazy person in this relationship.
Yeah. And I want to add to that a little bit too about radical honesty, because I think something might be on both ends, on Carrie and your ends, be getting caught up in the break idea, in the break.
Yeah.
You know, like, are we on a break or not? Are we like, you know, it's not infidelity if you guys were on a break. It's not lying if she has her own private life or whatever. This is why you move out of your ex's house, because it can't be so complicated. And this is the time to be radically honest. Carrie, we are not in a casual relationship. We're sharing a house together and sleeping in the same bed together, and we're having sex, and we're doing everything that our relationship said. You might think it's casual, but I don't. And so we have to get on the same page, yada, yada. Like, if it was casual, if it was truly casual, then you wouldn't care as much. It just, you have to make space for your feelings and be unapologetically honest about them, and be unapologetically, radically honest about what you need in order to actually fully trust her, to be fully at ease in your relationship. That's what I want to point out, is that, like, a lot of relationships that I was in when I was younger, and a lot of relationships I read about in these podcast submissions, are just so not at ease, you know, like so fraught with conflict. And here's the fucking fucked up trick of it all is that you're never going to get rid of conflict. You're never going to get rid of incompatibilities in relationships, or learning moments, or moments of discomfort, or uncomfortability in relationships where, like, shit gets sticky or crunchy, as Sam says, right? But in a safe relationship, in a stable relationship, in one in which you have mutual and proven respect for each other, that conflict feels a lot less fraught, and it feels less like conflict and more like growing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That is such a true thing that you just said, because I look back at relationships that I was in that were sort of constantly filled with conflict, and right, like, there are periods of my current relationship where we have more conflict than other periods, right? But the conflict that we're having feels constructive towards something, right? It feels like there's a goal in mind that we're working towards, as opposed to previous relationships where it would be like, we're in conflict to be in conflict with each other, right? We're in conflict because it feels good to be mad at each other because of all of the hurtful things that we've done to each other. And that's what I'm reading into your relationship, Clumsy Cupid. And that may not be true, right? Because I'm not in it. I'm not in your body. I don't know exactly how it feels. But I want to say that sort of like not vindictive, that sort of like righteous anger piece can be so addictive, right? The idea of like, we're going to keep going through this cycle where she's going to fuck up and I'm going to be right. And then I get to be mad at her, right? Like, ooh, I'm even remembering like how good it felt to be so self-righteously right about like the thing that I knew was going to happen, right?
Or looking for holes in their stories, how satiating that felt, how vindictive, and like what a power trip it was, when in reality, this is what I'm going to say to the letter writer. You don't want to be in a relationship in which you have to fact check all their stories. You want to be in a relationship in which you feel so safe and secure that you don't even second guess what they say to you, because that's what trust is. Trust isn't saying, oh, that story adds up, I think they're telling me the truth, right? Trust is
right. Trust is like
inherent.
I don't need to think about whether the story adds up or not, right?
Yeah. Okay, I feel like we've been railing on this.
Yeah, we have. Sorry, Clumsy.
Sorry, not sorry, because we love you. And
absolutely.
this is the no BS that you wanted, right?
For sure, absolutely. This is hopefully why you wrote into this podcast.
Yeah.
All this to say that, like, again, this is so easy for me and Sierra to say outside of this relationship. And both of us have been in relationships with this type of dynamic.
I've been on both sides of those
stayed in them
beds.
for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like put too much effort into trying to like maintain something that was like at its core so unstable. And so I know that this is hard. It's so much easier for us to say like, just break up than it is to actually do that process. Right. So I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm sorry about how painful this is. It's not fun. And those like courses of up and down emotions can be so exhilarating and also so challenging. But you deserve better than to have to constantly be on the lookout for some sort of deceit that you are eventually going to find, right?
Yeah.
You are worthy of trust. You are worthy of somebody who wants to be with you fully. You are worthy of being with somebody who's going to tell you the truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable, even if that truth isn't exactly what you want to hear. And it doesn't feel like Carrie is that person for you.
Yeah. I have more thoughts, but I'm going to save them for the affirmation.
Okay, perfect.
We love you so much. We know that's hard to hear. Yeah.
We love you so much, and thank you so much for trusting us with this question.
Yeah.
And being willing to listen to our very honest feedback on what we think is going on here.
Yeah. We love you. Okay, so this brings us to the blind date section of our show, segment of our show that we do every Friday. We like to shout out something that we love that we want to set you up with, and this week we are sending you home with
a book called Dyscalculia by
you son of a bitch.
Kimon Felix. Yep, stealing this one. Sierra and I interviewed Kimon for our Head and Heartwork conversations a little bit ago.
Came out in the end of January. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And we're a little bit late on this, but her book is actually out now. You can purchase it. Kimon is an amazing poet and writer. The interview that we had with her was wonderful and fantastic. She's just like a very fun and kind person. And this book is so fucking good that like, I just like, I don't want people to miss it, I think is why I'm like calling it out on this main episode, right? Because I know that not everyone listens to our interviews. So check this book out. It is beautiful. It is about a relationship, a breakup, about healing from that breakup, about healing from mental illness, about the reality of what healing means, which is like not necessarily like I'm healed, but just like an everyday decision to do things for yourself. Beautifully written. There were parts in it that like literally gave me chills where I was just like, oh my fucking God, what is this? I think honestly, one of the best books I read last year. Gave it a 5-star on Goodreads, which is not very common for me. So like love this book, love it so much, and want y'all to check it out. It's called Dyscalculia. It is by Kimon Felix. All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you want more content from us, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as all of our episodes without ads. That is patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to follow, like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording and editing, producing all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis, aka Big Cats, on Spotify. Check out his music. And remember, it hurts to say this, but sometimes some relationships just don't work, despite how hard we fight for them, despite how much we want them to be different, despite how deeply we cling to them. Some people just aren't for us, and that is not a reflection of how hard we fought for them. And if all else fails,
just break up.